was that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depiction. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as the doctor, and it had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better. As an example, the 11,000, I understand your husband's going through treatment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's going through some very serious cancer treatment, so yes, this goes a long way.
Yes, sir, it sure does.
He posted an image of himself as Jesus Christ, then deleted it, then told the world he thought it was a doctor. That is where we are. If you are new here, subscribe to the Public Cross-Examine, evidence-led analysis of what is actually being said in public. No noise, just the facts examined properly. On LBC, Washington correspondent Simon Marks joins Andrew to break down what has become one of the more extraordinary moments of this presidency. Trump depicted as a savior, surrounded by angels, soldiers, and eagles. His own MAGA supporters pushing back. His vice president, a practicing Catholic, who is currently writing his second autobiography about his conversion to Catholicism, left completely exposed. And then there is the Pope, who responded calmly, plainly, and without flinching. Let's go through the exchange, and then I'll give my thoughts at the end.
How we respond to Donald Trump. Is he just trying to wind the world up, to create so much astonishment, so much gape that we can't look away? In which case, should we not just try to ignore him? But on the other hand, if we don't react to the provocations of arguably the most powerful man in the world, aren't we normalizing what he says? Aren't we, in a sense, folding and passively accepting what ought to be unacceptable? All of this was going through my head this sunny morning when I saw his latest, and I would say blasphemous and grotesque posting. It's an AI-generated self-portrait of the American president as Jesus Christ, laying hands on a sick or perhaps dead man to cure or raise him, surrounded by an adoring woman praying, a nurse admiring soldiers, and with eagles and angels and fighters in the sky above. I can remember people saying of Tony Blair when he was at his height, he thinks he's Jesus Christ, or he thinks he can walk on water. It was meant as a kind of joke. But now Trump is really making the comparison. This is a man who leads a political movement which thinks of itself as overwhelmingly Christian. Shortly before we came on air, he deleted the image, either because his backers were so furious with him, or because, less likely, even he had thought he'd gone too far. It was all part of his latest argument with the Pope over the Iran war. First of all, here is the US President standing outside Air Force One.
I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. He's a very liberal person, and he's a man that doesn't believe in stopping crime. He's a man that doesn't think that we should be toying with a country that wants a nuclear weapon so they can blow up the world. I'm not a fan of Pope Leo.
Pope Leo responded by saying he wasn't afraid of Trump.
I do not look at my role as being politician. I don't want to get into a debate with him. I don't think that the message of the gospel is meant to be abused in the way that some people are doing. And I will continue to speak out loudly against war, looking to promote peace, promoting dialogue and multilateral relationships among the states, to look for just solutions to problems. Too many people are suffering in the world today. Too many innocent people are being killed. And I think someone has to stand up.
Now, how has Trump's Jesus post gone down in Washington and indeed amongst MAGA's Catholic supporters? Our Washington correspondent, Simon Marks, is here to talk about that. Simon, I mean, it strikes me that the Vice President, J.D. Vance, is a very fervent Catholic himself. How has this gone down?
And Vice President J.D. Vance is writing a second autobiography, Andrew, about his conversion to Catholicism. So the comments about the Pope, of course, have created all sorts of difficulty for President Trump, coupled with the furious reaction of his own Make America Great Again supporters on his own Truth Social platform to that now deleted posting of Trump depicted as Jesus. But take a listen to what the president has said about his deletion of that posting at the White House just within the last few minutes.
Do you have any questions?
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depiction. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as the doctor, and it had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better. As an example, the 11,000, I understand your husband's going through treatment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's
He
going
has
through some
cancer.
very serious cancer treatment, so
Yes, sir.
this goes a long way.
Yes, sir. It sure does.
I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, is the president's version of events concerning an image that doesn't make him look anything like a doctor and absolutely makes him look like a savior, which is precisely why so many members of his own Truth Social following have been tweeting back at him a meme that says, Jesus is my savior, Trump is my president, drawing a distinction between the two. But the president backing down, I think many people will find that explanation by him absolutely laughable.
It's hilarious, absolutely hilarious. Not many doctors have kind of fire and exocets pouring out of their palms that I recall. So I guess the more serious question here is whether there is a growing division inside the MAGA movement about the way Trump has been behaving recently.
Yeah, I think there's no question about it. And we're hearing that from prominent MAGA influencers. And this is a real problem for the president's defenders. When you've got allies of his, former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, former Fox News personality Tucker Carlson, Candice Owens, the MAGA influencer, all now raising questions about his own mental cognitive state, with Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, I think he's gone insane. I mean, this is being fueled by the imagery of him as Jesus, the attack on the Pope. We saw the Pope today saying that he has no fear of the Trump administration. Pope Leo the Fourteenth, the first American Pope, who under other circumstances might have played a big role in celebrating this country's 250th birthday this year, but the Vatican has already announced he will not be setting foot on American soil during 2026. And by the way, Andrew, that attack on the Pope completely undercut all of Donald Trump's top lieutenants who had gone to the mat for the last week, denying there were rifts between the White House and the Vatican, denying that the ambassador from the Holy See had been carpeted by Pentagon officials within the last 10 days for his criticism of the war in Iraq, and even had been threatened with the creation of an Avignon papacy, an alternative papacy by the Trump administration.
Let's start with what Trump actually said. He posted an image of himself depicted as Jesus Christ, surrounded by angels, soldiers, eagles, a woman praying at his feet. And when he was asked about it directly, standing outside the White House, his answer was that he thought it was him as a doctor. Not a savior, a doctor. Now, either he genuinely did not look closely at an image he personally chose to post to millions of followers, or he looked at it, understood exactly what it was, and decided that explanation was good enough. Neither version reflects well on the person leading one of the most powerful countries on earth. Simon Marks makes the more important point, though. This is not just embarrassing. It is politically damaging in a very specific direction. J.D. Vance is a practicing Catholic. He is currently writing his second autobiography about his conversion to Catholicism. And the same week that book is being prepared, his president is picking a public fight with the Pope, posting AI images of himself as Christ,
and forcing every senior figure in the administration to either defend it or go quiet. They went quiet, which tells you everything. Then there is the Pope himself, Pope Leo the 14th, the first American Pope. A man who, under very different circumstances, might have been a celebrated figure in this country's 250th anniversary year. Instead, the Vatican has confirmed he will not set foot on American soil in 2026. That is not a scheduling conflict. That is a statement. And the Pope's own words are worth sitting with. He said the message of the gospel is not meant to be abused. He said too many innocent people are being killed. He said someone has to stand up. He said it calmly, without theater, without rage, just plainly. That contrast matters enormously for the channel's audience.
Because what this exchange exposes is a fracture that is no longer coming from the left or from the media. It is coming from inside. Marjorie Taylor Greene saying she thinks he has gone insane. Tucker Carlson raising questions about his mental state. Candice Owens. These are not critics. These are people who spent years building and defending the MAGA movement. And they are now publicly questioning whether the man at the center of it has lost the plot. That is a significant shift, and it did not happen overnight. What you are watching is the cumulative weight of behavior that has become impossible to explain away. The Iran war, the Hormuz blockade, the attacks on European allies, and now this. An AI image of the president as the Son of God, posted and deleted within hours, explained away with a line about doctors and the Red Cross. In a functioning democracy, the people around a leader have a responsibility to speak when something has gone too far. What this exchange shows, quietly but clearly, is that more and more people are starting to wonder out loud whether that moment has already passed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Where do you think this goes from here? If this kind of breakdown is useful, subscribe to the Public Cross-Examined. Thanks for watching.